today's class we are going to discuss about finite automata. We have two types of finite automata, that is deterministic finite automata and non-deterministic finite automata. Today we are going to discuss about non-deterministic finite automata. It has 5 tuples q, summation, q naught, f and del. Q means set of states, summation means set of input symbols, del means transient function, q naught means initial state, f means final state. In DFA we will be having state table or transient table and state diagram or transient diagram. I will explain all these things by using a diagram. Consider this diagram. This is deterministic finite automata. எப்படி சொல்லணும்னா, since we have used இப்போ ஏங்கிற இன்புட்லேருந்து we have used only we have two inputs, that is 0 and 1. To go from A to B I have used 0, and to stay back in A I am using input 1, right? If I use same input for input over state to reach two different state means that is called as NFA. If I use unique input for moving to different state means that is called as DFA. இப்போ பார்த்தீங்கன்னா எப்படின்னா, ஏங்கிற ஸ்டேட்லேருந்து நாங்கள் 0ங்கிற இன்புட் யூஸ் பண்ணி பிக்கு மட்டும் தான் போகிறேன். ஏங்கிற ஸ்டேட்லேருந்து 1ங்கிற இன்புட் யூஸ் பண்ணி நான் ஏக்கு மட்டும் தான் போகிறேன், வேற எங்கேயும் நான் போகல. கரெக்டாக இதே வந்து நான் இப்போ ஏங்கிற ஸ்டேட்லேருந்து 0ங்கிற இன்புட் யூஸ் பண்ணி பிக்கும் போயிட்டு 0ங்கிற இன்புட் யூஸ் பண்ணி எகைன் நான் ஏக்கும் போனேன்னா அதுக்கு பேர் என்ன சொல்லுவோம்? NFAன்னு சொல்லுவோம். ஏன்னா என்னது, 0ங்கிற இன்புட் நான் 2 டிஃப்ரெண்ட் ஸ்டேட்டுக்கு யூஸ் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். வேறாஸ் இந்த டயக்ராமில் பார்த்தோம்னா என்னதுங்க, since we have used input only once, this is called as deterministic finite automata. Hope you have understood. Now consider the state B. Whole diagram we have to check. இந்த மாதிரி அதாவது யூனிக்காக யூஸ் பண்ணியிருக்கோமான்னு பார்க்கணும். அதாவது ஒரு ஃபார் ஒன் ஸ்டேட் we are using only one input for going to other state அப்படின்னு செக் பண்ணணுங்க. சரிங்களா? இதே வந்து இன்னொரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் பார்க்கணும்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, we can consider, let it be 1. Here we can use state names, we can have any. Here we have used alphabets and I have given it as 1. Consider the input A. From here to here I am using B. Now consider A comma B. Now let me know whether this is DFA or NFA. This is not NFA, this is DFA. Now check, from 1 I have used input A and I have stayed in 1 itself. From 1 to 2 I am using input B. Consider 2. By using input A I am staying in 2 itself, and again for input B also I am using 2. என்ன சொல்கிறேன் புரியுதான்னு தெரியல. 2ங்கிற ஸ்டேட்லேருந்து எகைன் நான் A B 2 இன்புட் யூஸ் பண்ணுறேன். ஆனால் என்ன பண்ணுறேன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, ரெண்டுமே ஒரே ஸ்டேட்டுக்கு தான் போகுது, வேறு 2 டிஃப்ரெண்ட் ஸ்டேட்ஸ்க்கு போகல. 2 டிஃப்ரெண்ட் ஸ்டேட்ஸ்க்கு போனால் தான் என்னது, அது வந்து NFAன்னு சொல்லுவோம். ஓகே, now from this diagram we can give the answer as 5 tuples, that is Q. Q means for this diagram the answer will be A and B. Summation means input set, inputs என்னன்னு பார்க்கணும். We have inputs 0 and 1. Transient function I will explain. Q naught means the first state, initial state in the diagram, that is A. F means final state, this one. Okay, now consider this for this one. Q means 1 and 2. Summation is A and B. Transient function I will explain. Q naught is this one, that is 1. F is 2. Now consider I have 3 states. Let it be 0, 1 and 2. Another thing is, in finite automata we can have any number of final states and single initial state should be there, but we can have any number of final states. Okay, now consider this one. Let the input be A, B, and here I have B and C. Here I have A, B and C. Now from this diagram what will be the answer for Q? It will be 0, 1, 2. Summation means A, B and C. transition function I will explain. Q naught means the initial state, that is 0. F means 2. Hope you guys understood these things. Now transition function means, I will explain. Wait. For reaching A to B, that is transition function of for reaching A, for reaching B from A, the input that I am going to use should be mentioned here. If I use input 1, I will be staying back in 1. To reach B, I need to use input 0. That is called as transition function. From B, I need to reach A. Now consider B, I need to reach A. What will be the input that we need to use? If I use 0, I will be staying back in B. If I use 1, I will be going back to A. This is called as transition function. Okay, all those things are explained here. Next one is transition diagram. Regarding transition diagram, we need to discuss about states and inputs. State should be written here, input should be written here. Now consider A is initial state, so we should mention it as with arrow mark, and B is star, so we have mentioned as star. From A to 0, we are reaching B, so that is mentioned here. From A to 1, we are using A to 1 and we will be getting back to A, right? From B to 0, I will be staying in the B, and from B to 1, I will be staying back in A, right? This is called as state table or transition table. This is called as state diagram or transition diagram. Okay, now consider this one. Now language acceptance. Okay, now consider they have given a diagram, they have given an input string. Now we are going to use transition function here. Hope you know how to draw transition table now. Okay, we have used 0 and 1. From A to 0, we are going to the same diagram. Okay, we need to check whether the given string is accepted or not for the given diagram. Now transition of initial, we should always start with initial state, that is from A, we are going to use the first input. First input is 1, right? A comma 1, where we are going, while using input 1 on A, we are going to stay back in A, right? So it will be answer is A. Next step is we are going to use again A comma, what is the second input? Second input is 0, right? A comma 0. What will be the answer for this one? A comma 0 is B, right? So B. Next we need to use B on the third input, that is B comma 1, right? B comma 1 is, the answer is again from B to 1. If I use 1 on B, I will be reaching A, right? So the answer will be A. Next step is again del of A comma 0. A comma 0 is from A, if I use 0, I will be reaching the state B, right? After using all the input strings, I have reached a state which is final or not final. If it is final, it will be accepted. If the state is non-final, it will be rejected. Since B is final state, it will be accepted. Can you guys understand this? Yes, hope you guys understood. Since we have reached B, it is accepted. If it goes to non-final state, means it will be rejected. Consider the next input. From A, I am going to reach, if I use A comma 0, it will be reached to B, right? From B, next input is 0. B comma 0 is again, we will be staying again B. If I use 1 on B, means I will be reaching A. A is non-final state, so it is rejected. This is how we are going to develop language acceptance. Okay. Now next thing is we are going to design DFA for the language accepting set of strings that ends with AB over the input A comma B. Thing is we are going to draw a diagram where we will not be thinking of about the initial state, initial strings, where last two strings should be ending with A comma B. So consider what are the possible values that minimum value that will have the given input. Minimum value is A comma B. If it is A comma B, means question will be satisfied, right? It will be ending with AB, so it is satisfied. AAB, whereas AB it starts with AB. You have to check for AB at the last. If it ends with AB, we have to draw a diagram in such a way that it will be accepted, right? They have already drawn a diagram where, now consider, if it is AB means it will be going to final state, so the diagram is accepted. Okay, what about second input AAB? So we need to draw a self loop, right? Since the input is for this one, for this thing, the answer is right. Q0 comma B is Q0, Q0 comma A is Q1, Q1 comma B is Q2. It is going to final state, so it is accepted. Whereas for this one, we need to draw a self loop here. That is, if I start from here, the input is A. Q0 comma A is Q1, Q1 comma A is again Q1, again Q1 comma B is Q2. So this is also accepted, right? Now check for the other values now. All possible values are accepted. If I use B, let it be ABB. ABB means it doesn't end with AB. So the string should be rejected, right? Now consider Q1 comma A is Q1, right? Q1 comma B is Q2. The next B, we have to draw a diagram in such a way that it is rejected. So what we can do is we can draw a diagram from Q2 to Q1, that is like this. If I use like this, Q0 comma A is Q1, Q1 comma B is Q2, again Q2 comma B is somewhere this one. Okay, now let's check for B A B A. It doesn't end with A B, so check this. Q0 comma B is Q0, Q0 comma A is Q1, Q1 comma B is Q2, Q2 comma A is Q1. You have to check for all possible values, and our diagram should be answering for all the possible things. This is the way we have to design DFA. Thank you. These are the sample values. In today's class, we are going to discuss about non-deterministic finite automata. This is also a type of finite automata. Consider the 5 tuples which are similar to DFA. Q means set of states, summation means final set of input symbols, transition function means from moving from one state to another, what input we are using. All those things are defined as a transition function. Q0 is initial or start state. F is set of final / accepting states. Okay, now consider this diagram. We have two inputs A and B and three states 0, 1 and 2. Why we are saying this diagram as NDFA means we have used input A on 0 in such a way that it can reach 0 and also it can reach 1 by using same input. This is called as non-deterministic finite automata. Whereas in DFA, if I use if I use an input, I can reach only one state. In non-deterministic finite automata, I can reach two different states using same input. You can check here. If I use input A on 0, I can reach 0 and also I can reach 1 also. This is called as NDFA. Okay, now consider from this given diagram, Q is, we have three states 0, 1 and 2, that is Q. Summation, we have two inputs A and B, so it will be A and B. Transition function we can define as to reach 1 from 0, I can use del of 0 comma, if I use input A, I can move to 0 and also 1, right? If I want to reach 2 from 1, I can use del of 1 comma B means I can reach 2. This is called as transition function. Next is Q0. Q0 means the first state in the given diagram, that is 0. F means final state, that is mentioned by using double round, right? Okay. Transition table, we will have states separately and inputs. For initial state, we should mention it as arrow mark, and for final state, we should use star here. Okay. If I use A on input on state 0, I can reach 0 and I can reach 1 also. So 0 comma 1, 0 comma B leads to 0. Likewise, you can define. Okay. Now language acceptance by NFA. Consider for this given diagram, they are going to give a string. We are going to check whether the language is accepted or not. Consider the following string. Okay, AAB. Always we should start with the q naught, that is initial value, initial state. So first thing is a, first state is 0, so 0 comma a, that is del of 0 comma a leads to 0 and it also leads to 1, right? Similarly, if I consider 0 again, 0 comma a again leads to 0 and 1. If I consider it as 1 comma a, it will be going to 1, right? And next 1 comma a is not there, right? So we cannot define. Now consider again, if I use 0 comma b means it will be 0 comma b is again 0. If I consider it as 1, 1 comma b is 2. Likewise, you have to consider, since we are reaching 2 here, so this is accepted. Whereas if I use different state, consider BAA means initial state is 0, 0 comma b leads to 0 again 0 comma a, I will be staying back in the state 0, 0 comma a leads to again, it can be either 0 or 1. Next one is again 0, 0 comma a is again, it will be 0 or 1, 1 comma a is not there, it has not reached to, it has also not reached to, so the input is rejected. Since the state we have reached is not final, this is rejected. Likewise, you have to check since the input is rejected. That's all. Thank you.